So what will the KHSA do to protect the other electric infrastructure along the river? What will be done to preserve the electric transmission infrastructure, for example, along the Klamath River to make sure that new technology can be developed and connected to the grid?
Well, so we've got an obligation to serve, and I know that one of the things that, for example, Commissioner Huckel spoke about in a recent op-ed piece was perhaps the misperception that if our dams aren't on the Klamath River, that everybody's lights are going to go out in Klamath Falls and we're all going to be living in the dark. And our business doesn't work that way. We are given the rights to serve customers within a certain geographic area, but with those rights come responsibilities, and that means obligation to serve. So right now we have resources all over the West feed into a grid, and they're helping keep your home bright and warm, and that's going to continue to be the case even if these facilities aren't on the Klamath River anymore.
How much will it cost Pacific Core to remove those dams?
We're not removing those dams. We are in no sooner than 2020 handing the keys over to a dam removal entity. And that's assuming the Secretary determines in 2012 that dam removal is a good idea. What we negotiated in this agreement is a cost cap. Our customers' contribution towards the cost of dam removal will be no more than $200 million. If the Secretary decides that dam removal is not in the public interest, the dollars that we're collecting right now through the surcharge our Oregon customers have been seeing on their bill since March, those dollars go right into covering relicensing costs.
And if the decision comes out the other way, that the dams are going to remain in place, how much will it cost Pacific Core to keep the dams in place and find other measures to comply with modern environmental laws?
There's more regulatory process to come, so certainly folks could come up with additional operating constraints on the project, additional requirements that we have to comply with if we want to continue operating. Based upon what we know 10 years into this relicensing, we're looking at about $400 million of new capital investment and constraints on future operations under any new license.
And that's in today's dollars.
Yep.
Greg, you had something?
I just want to, and Toby said it, and you actually said it, but I just want to underscore it, Joe, because despite what the public may see or read or hear, there is no dam removal agreement. There is no agreement. There is an agreement to enter into a process to determine whether or not that's going to happen, and that's and Toby has referred to the Secretary of Interior making a determination, but I mean that's going to involve economic studies. It's going to involve environmental studies, biology, what happens, how much sediment is there, what's in it, what's the effect. There is a myriad of things that have to be checked off the list, and I bring that up because it was important to our guys, to just blanketly say, I mean, we generally like dams. We depend on dams. We talked about Link and Keno. It was important that there's going to be some thorough process to analyze the costs and the benefits of this thing. So I just want to make that point. There is no dam removal agreement.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Becky.
Can I go? So before I came here tonight, I was able to go have a cup of tea with a good friend of mine in town who lives in a house that's probably 80, 85 years old. And I said, hey, do you happen to have a copy of your power bill? And she said, it came today. So I said, could I just get a copy of that and see how much this is costing you, a person who lives in town, on your bill? So here's the bill, and for the removal of J.C. Boyle, it's 18 cents a month, and for the removal of Copco and Iron Gate, it's 55 cents a month. So I think it's just important that we are able to say to the people in the city, we care about your power bills and we care about you too, and we didn't run around creating something that was going to hurt people in Klamath Falls. That was never an intent. And so when you have people, and I have had, I had an older woman approach me about a month ago with that very thing, saying, if these dams come out, the power is going to go out in Klamath Falls. And it's like, I do not want anybody to be frightened about this in that kind of way. And then also just to say, I can't buy a bottle of water for 73 cents. And that's for a month. So what we know is that it'll be more expensive to retrofit those than to take care of this. And I'm amazed that there are people who are opponents to this who are actively, trying to create some sort of feeling of warmth around something that is no longer serviceable. It's like not even a good basic choice to be making in terms of economics and taking care of ratepayers or taxpayers. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think we need to be fiscally careful here for this community's future.
Okay.
Becky, I'm really glad you brought the bill tonight, because I think most of our customers look at the bottom line and write the check and never bother reading it and seeing what those various itemized items are. I think your friend probably is good at energy conservation, and that's awesome, because that 73 cents, we've estimated that the average customer is probably going to see about $1.50 on their bill through this surcharge. But, that's great. 73 cents, good for her.
And that's because the rates were capped for dam removal.
Yeah, and these dollars are collected over 10 years. I mean, one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is rate shock, but frankly, that was an important consideration for us as well as we looked at this. We wanted to make sure that as we collected this surcharge, it happened over time, so that folks weren't getting hit in 1 month, 1 year, something like that. 73 cents a month is probably something that almost anybody would not find painful.
Well, and you probably chuckled, I know I did. During the primaries, there was a big advertisement that came out that said, dam removal in the KBRA only affects 3% of the county. And I kind of thought to myself, well, I guess 97% of us use oil lamps and candles.
Pacific Power is privileged to serve most of the folks who live in Klamath County.
I suspected that.
The other thing that kind of comes up when I talk about the dams that are under consideration for removal is the other uses. And we kind of got to this a little bit earlier in your testimony, Steve, but I've heard differing opinions on the uses of those downstream dams and the water behind them. For example, have the dams that are under consideration now, have those dams ever been used to store water for irrigation?
No.
Or flood control? No. Toby, sounds like you're the...
No, and flood control, again, I think it's something that folks assume about dams, and that's not what these facilities are about. These facilities were designed to basically manage water on a daily basis. They do not provide seasonal storage. If you look at the whole Klamath Basin, and Greg, correct me if I get the numbers wrong, but my recollection is Upper Klamath Lake provides 242 days of active storage in this system. Our dams, our reservoirs combined provide a collective 5 days of active storage.
Thank you.